Hi, you must have heard about ChatGPT. It's been making waves in the industry now, but did you know that you can create your own ChatGPT like software using OpenAI API? Yes, it's true. With OpenAI powerful API, you too can build your own chatbot applications and have fun. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Purna. In today's video, we are going to talk about how to build your own chatbot using OpenAI API through GPT-3 model with NodeJS and ReactJS tech stack. In this video, we will be using ReactJS for building UI and Node.js for the backend API. Here I will first explain the OpenAI API specifications, then we'll start building the backend. We'll test it using Postman and then we will build the UI. So let's get started. So let's understand the OpenAI API specifications. OpenAI provides an API that allows developer to access the GPT-3 language model. And the API provides endpoints for tasks such as text completion, text classifications, and questions answering. If you see this API reference, right, so we are basically going to use this completion API endpoint. So as we are going to use this completions API in our Node.js application, so OpenAI has already created a module called OpenAI. And through this module, basically, we are going to use this in our applications. And you can see a functions called create completion, and these functions will basically communicate to the OpenAI GPT-3 model, and based on the prompt it will complete the text generation. So in simple term, it allows you to ask questions to the OpenAI language model to complete a sentence or phrase based on the text that you provide. The API uses authentications and provide usage-based billing system, and you need to have an API key from OpenAI in order to use the GPT-3 model in your chatbot. To have your own API key, you can sign up for an account on the OpenAI website if you don't have one already, and create your API key by following the link openai.com/account/API keys. So here you can generate your own API key. So here is my API key is created now. So I will be using this for this application demo, and later I will delete it so that you can create your own API key and use in the chatbot. So now we understand the API specifications. Let's start building the backend. So we will be using Node.js for the backend. I'm not going to teach you how to create Node.js project from the scratch. So you'll get so many videos in YouTube for the same. And you still want to learn Node.js from scratch, please comment in the comment box. I will record some training sessions on Node.js tutorial. So here is a basic project setup that I have done. Basically, you need to install a few packages, that is CORS, Express and OpenAI. So how I can install it? npm install CORS, Express and OpenAI. So I already installed in this app, so I'm not going to run this command again. This is a very simple code setup, guys, for setting up the server using Express framework in Node.js applications. And this Express modules basically helps to manage the servers and routes in Node.js applications. This CORS module enable the CORS with various options. This statement enables cross-origin resource sharing for the server, allowing it to receiving requests from other domain outside its own domain. And this app.use express JSON. So this statement passes incoming request with JSON payload and make it available in the request object as the request body. So this is one dummy endpoint that I defined for checking whether it is working fine or not. So API/v1/ping. This basically returns hello world, and this is a get root. And below you can see that I am using port number 5050, and under this port our entire Node.js API will run. So I believe this simple code setup is done. So let me open my Postman and we'll see whether it is properly working or not. Here you can see the URL that I'm going to request localhost :5050/API/v1/ping, and let me request it. And you can see, right, hello world. So this is perfectly working. So what exactly I'm going to do here, right? So I'll create a separate route for my chatbot API endpoint, so that will communicate to the OpenAI APIs to generate the completion text based on the prompt that we will be sending from the UI. So let me create a folder, my create bot, and create a file index.js. So if you will see this code, guys, so here I have added a post endpoint. So basically it is a async method, and here we are expecting a prompt as the request body, and we are just simply logging that in the console. So what the prompt we are receiving from the consumer, and we are simply responding here like it's working perfectly, or if there is an error, that we are logging that error, and we exported the module here, right? And we are exporting the router here. So as it is an independent route that we define, so we need to call this in the global index.file. So here what I have done here, right? I'm just importing that recently created module, my creative bot, and this my creative bot root is registered with API/v1/my creative bot chart. Let's save this and I'll open the postman again. So if you'll see this URL, guys, this is a post method, and I'm calling that API endpoint like API/v1/my creative bot chart. And let me make a request send. Before that, I just want to show you guys. So I'm passing a prompt. That prompt request body parameter is expected. So what I am sending here, list of FIFA World Cup champion. So let me click on send. So now you can see it's working perfect. So based on the code that we are returning, simply working perfectly. So this root setup is done. I just modify this code using the OpenAI integration. So here I am importing OpenAI module, and I'll be using this component configurations and OpenAI API. And here you can see like I have a dummy variables or constant that you can say like your API keys. So I'll be replacing these keys with some real-time keys through this configuration function. So basically we are setting up a configuration object by passing our API key to the OpenAI, and based on this configuration object, here we created our OpenAI object. So this object going to be used to perform the create completion activities. Let me explain you about this create completions parameters. So basically the first parameter that we are passing the model. So this model is GPT-3 model. I can pronounce this like text dash dev inci-003, and the next parameter is prompt. So prompt specify the text prompt for which the continuation is desired. So max token is number of tokens to complete the prompt. Basically the higher the number, you will get the lengthier response. Basically this top P and temperatures, these are basically used to improve the randomness of the generated output text. So what OpenAI recommended is like either one you can tune it off. So bigger the number, higher the randomness. So lower the number, it's more accurate, but might be like the more randomness is like more faster. There could be. These are something like frequency penalties or presence penalty. These are adjusting the generate behavior. So you can go to the API documentation and understand what each parameters used to do. The stop parameter contains array of string that when encountered, the completions will stop. As this is a asynchronous function, so we are waiting for the response from OpenAI. Once the completion is done, we will receive the response. So if you see the response, right, so we are fetching response.data.choice.text. These choices are nothing but it's a predictions that made by the GPT-3 models. And below you can see I'm using that GPT-3 function call, passing the prompt that we received from the request body. And we are getting the response, and that response I'm straight away responding back. So I move to the postman here, and you can see that I'm using this post method to connect my newly created endpoint, my creative chatbot, and this expect a prompt parameter in the body, and you can see the existing response that we receive from the dummy API endpoint. So let me click on send, and you will see, oh, this is giving error, request failed with status code 401. So there is some issues. So let me see whether I have used that API key or not. I haven't added that API key yet. So let me go back to that API key interface. Let me create a API key. This will be temporary purpose, so I'll be deleting after the session. So please create your own key, guys. Okay, so I paste my API keys here. Let me go back to the Postman. Let's search again. So now we can see the response, right? So list of FIFA World Cup champions. So this list is not complete. Basically it is giving up to 1982. So what I will do, right, I will change the token size here to something like 500 tokens. To increase the token size, it will impact your billing. So now let me go back to the Postman and search again whether it is giving that complete response or not. So this is giving up to the data 2014, but still it's fair enough. It might be skipping last 2 FIFA World Cup, I guess. Other than that, it is giving all the list. This new endpoint is working as expected, guys. So it is giving us the responses based on the prompt that we are passing. Internally, it is using OpenAI modules to communicate to create completions API endpoint, and that endpoint internally use GPT-3 model, and from that GPT-3 model it returns some responses based on the prompt, and whatever the responses we receive in a synchronous way, we are responding back to the consumer. So now the backend part is ready, so we will focus on frontend now. We will be using ReactJS for building this front-end application. So here you can see like my creative bot that I already built this application, because so writing this code on live sessions is very difficult and time consuming. Just to avoid that, I built that app already using that recently created NodeJS application. So I'll be explain code line by line so that you will understand what I have done here. So before going to the code walkthrough, I just want to demo this application, how it is working. I just simply type hello and search through this. So it's saying like, hi there, how can I help you? So here I'm going to ask one more question. Tell me the list of FIFA World Cup winners. Let's see what the response is giving. Yeah, it has given the response, right? So these are the list of FIFA World Cup winner. So my next question is, write a program to check prime number in JavaScript. Let's see what it is going to respond. Yes, this is also working as expected. It is given that functions to check whether it is a prime number or not. So this is working as expected, and this is my creative bot that I have created using the Node.js endpoint that we build, and that internally communicating with the OpenAI GPT-3 model. So this is how you can create your own chatbot using the GPT-3 model, and this is very cool. So let me go to the VS Code again to explain how this UI components are built. So in this code, we have created a simple ReactJS component that allow the user to input a message and send it to the backend using the chatbot endpoint. So here I have used Axios package to interact with the API communication, and using some styling element from the font awesome. And also I use Bootstrap a lot for designing the UI. So if you go to this render method that you can see right here, that you saw my header, my creative bot, and I'm rendering a search box here. So if I go to this render search box method, that what exactly I'm doing. So here is a input box, Basically, whenever we are changing something, we are setting up a message. When we press the enter key, if the length is more than 2 characters, so that time it's making that API call and calling to the handle submit. Other than that, you can also click the buttons. The button will be enabled if the length is more than 2 characters for the search string. When we click on the send button or entering that text box, this handle submit is called. And here we are checking the request message object. So by default it is an empty object, and if it is empty, then we are setting up that template request message. In this message we are just passing the message state, and the data is like the current date time. So as you saw in the UI, right, it was showing when the message is trigger and this request message is set. And the response message we are setting as null. We are starting the loader here, and if you go to this send message, in this send message functions, basically we are calling that backend API endpoint for interacting with OpenAI GPT-3 model. And this is the endpoint for my creative bot. Here I am setting up the prompt. Basically it's a conversation prompt, and the user what is the message that we are receiving from the text box, and we are calling that axios.post, and this is the URL and the data that we are passing the payload in the body. Here we are waiting for the response from the API call. As it is a asynchronous call, so it will wait until that response receive. Once we get the response, we will fetch the respective output in the data properties of this response object, and this message from AI const, basically it holds the API response, and we are setting up the response message to our response message state, and here the loader is false. When we search with the new prompt, that handle submit will call, and that times the request message will already have the data. So we are setting up a history by passing that request message and response message, and again we are resetting that request message with new prompt. Like that we are making API call again in the send message, that it's communicating to the backend API and fetching back that responses, and we are setting into the response message. So like that this cycle will continue, and it will push response by response and the history also maintained. So let me go back to the UI, and we'll show you one more time so that you can relate with this component with the data. I will submit this code in my GitHub account, so you can download it and you can reuse it. The objective of this session is to build applications like ChatGPT, so where we'll have our own customized version of Chatbot by using OpenAI GPT-3 model. And I didn't focus much on the UI to explain it, because we have various ReactJS training sessions, so I think you guys are capable enough to understand it. And you can see the history that I was maintaining through different session state, so that information that you can see here. One after another that history list is prepared, and you can see when that request is posted. Based on that you can identify which is the latest one and old one. So this is a basic chatbot applications, how we are interacting with GPT-3 model to generate our text based on the prompt that we are passing. And we can also fine tune the GPT-3 model. They have given some endpoint, and you need to fine tune it based on that how we are going to train the model. That model will respond the data based on it. That's it for the sessions today. We have learned how to build a chatbot using OpenAI or GPT-3 API, using ReactJS as UI, NodeJS as backend. We have also explained the OpenAI API specifications, build the backend, tested it using Postman, and build the front end. And I hope you found this session helpful. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment and share. Please subscribe my channel.